welcome back to another edition of the Founder Spotlight. Today I have the founder of High Confectionary, Jenna Goldring. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So before launching the High Confectionary, you spent years in the media and sales world at places like Hulu, Hello, and other places. What lessons from that career still shape how you build the High Confectionary today?
Yeah, so I actually think I worked at, funny enough, when I was at Hulu, there was a very small amount of employees. So it wasn't quite a startup, but it was like a lot smaller than the Hulu we know today. But I've always
Hmm.
kind of worked at like small companies that were building to become bigger. The one I actually learned the most at was a company called Vistar Media, which I was at for about 6 years. It actually just got acquired recently by T-Mobile for $800 million. But I was one of their first employees, and we were literally in a conference room within another company. And then as I was there, like it grew. And like 1 year there was 10 employees, like when I started, and then there was 20, and then there was 100. And kept moving offices in New York. And I think that experience I actually learned the most because even though I was at one company, it was kind of like working for five different companies, like seeing something built from like a founder who really believes in an idea and like hired great people and scaled it. And like you have to kind of like wear a bunch of different hats. Even though I was on the sales side, I'd never had a sales job actually before I went there. I always wanted to do sales and I was good at it. I knew I was good at it. And they were like, you can come on and like try to sell this product, and basically gave me like my first shot into sales. And obviously I was very successful. I ended up being the regional vice president, where I left and went to Philo. But uh, it was super interesting. I learned how to be scrappy. I learned that a million things go wrong, but like everyone knows, like, I think the biggest secret with companies is like you're kind of just like figuring things out as you go. Like even these huge companies, they have problems and they have to troubleshoot, and it's just like you kind of have to be innovative and creative even in like non-creative roles of like how to problem solve. So that was a really interesting experience, just seeing something go from like like my first year, the year there, like no one believed in this idea. Like we would go and pitch ad agencies and they're like, we don't want to buy this. We don't care about this. And now it's like a must buy on every media plan. And so
Hmm.
I think it just shows you sometimes like when you're ahead of something, like a lot of people doubt you, but it's just like, it's not that your idea is wrong. It's just maybe the industry hasn't come to a place where they know like you're ahead of the industry almost and like where it's going to go. And so people like to bet on things that they know are going to work. And there was a lot of doubt, and like it was so great to see that actually get acquired by like a huge telecom company, because I think back when like everyone was just doubting the idea, like it's never going to work, people are never going to buy this type of media, and now it's like actually it's everywhere. So yeah, I don't know, I learned a lot from that. I think I worked with great people there who like taught me so many things, but like every job I had kind of contributed to learning. Like my first job out of college, I had this boss who was like, you need to learn how to use Microsoft Excel. And like I remember I spent the entire year like in a crash course in that, and it was so boring, but like I use that now. So
Yeah.
uh,
So this is a embarrassing for me here. When I was doing the research for the episode here, I was, writing out the High Confectionary, and again, I'd stare at the sleep gummies like every night before I go to bed. Taking the cap off,
yeah,
looking at the bags during the day or whatever. It dawned on me that abbreviating the company name is THC. Was that intentional?
yeah, and it was. So we like if you notice in our gummies, there's actually a TH like C kind of like as like a little face character
Hmm.
stamped into all the
Yeah.
gummies. So yeah, we originally wanted it to be like spell out THC, so that was intentional. And when we first created the company, part of it was like they are super low dose, right? So we like
Hmm.
wanted people to remember, and that's why we put the stamp in the gummy that there is THC in these, even though it's low dose. So
Yep.
every time you eat one, it's kind of like a nice reminder, like wait, like they're mellow and you can build on them. And I mean, you've had them, but it's they taste like candy. So we want a gentle reminder, both in the name and then on the product, like this is a THC product.
Yeah. The anytime ones are, I love adding them to whatever else I'm
Yeah.
taking, or just taking them by themselves. And yeah, they do taste amazing. So I like that they're all milligrams. Someone's like, you know what? I want 4 milligrams right now, and I have a 4 milligram gummy, but I kind of want to eat four from the High Confectionery just so I can.
That whole idea, like I'm addicted to like candy. I have a sweet tooth, and like I had that same problem. Well, first of all, like I didn't want to always take a high dose. But second of
Right.
all, it's like sometimes you would eat something and you're like, this is really good. Like I want another one. And you
Yep.
can't because it's like 5 milligrams. And so I wanted
Hmm.
people who have higher tolerances to be able to like snack on them and eat more than one. And that's why we made them, it took us a year to get them to taste like this. Like we wanted them to taste really, really good. So I'm glad you like them.
Yeah, that leads right into the next question of, edibles have had, formulation problem, not necessarily in a while now because they've been tasting good for a minute, but when you first started having legal states come on and everything, products were unpredictable, like you've mentioned, overwhelmingly dosed or maybe packed with artificial ingredients. And a lot of people had a bad experience in college and, maybe took 10, 20, 30 milligrams and never came back to edibles. So that's kind of the gap that you're filling and what you built for. But when you first started formulating, how did you kind of, reverse engineer that better experience?
Yeah, so I really love Sour Patch Kids, like as a candy,
Yep.
but they have a lot of crap in them, like actually a lot of stuff that's not going to get banned. Like they have different dyes in them. They're
Hmm.
made with gelatin, which is not vegan. And so we were like, okay, this is what we like want it to taste like and feel like. A little less like stick to your teeth though, because that always bothered
Hmm.
me about candy. But I want it to be vegan. And so that was a challenge because you can't use gelatin, which is in actually most gummies. I didn't want to use any artificial coloring, sweetener, like flavoring and all of that. So we're like, how do we make this like taste just as good without
Hmm.
having like, all that crap in it? And then the other challenge is the 1 milligram because with testing, there's a percentage variance you can actually hit to qualify for like 10 milligrams or 5 milligrams or 1 milligram. Like it doesn't, each product can be like have a 10% variance depending on
Hmm.
the state that differs. But so when you're eating a 10 milligram gummy, like it could actually have 11 milligrams or 9 milligrams and like it could still pass like testing. When you get into lower dosages, like 1 milligram, let's think about it, it's 0.1% like off. And
Yeah.
so it's really hard to nail that from a testing perspective because the margin of error is just a lot smaller. So there was a few challenges when we were formulating these and it just took a really long time. I think also like we had to find a great co-packer that could make the product we want. And that's hard when we were on the more of the cannabis side. It's like we had to have a co-packer in every state and like they all couldn't necessarily spit out the same product. Now that we've shifted to hemp, it's way
Hmm.
easier because we can produce everything with one manufacturer who we love and
Yep.
we've been working with for years and like they get our vision, they know how we want it to taste. Like anytime we roll out a new product, like it's just much easier because they make all of our other things.
Hmm.
So that was kind of like, I guess, like not challenges, but like why it just took a little bit longer because we weren't taking like these gelatin based formulas that like most people use and just switching like the flavor or the coating. The reason we created it was like you said, like people had a horrible experience in college or even now, like, I have a 2 year old and I can't risk being really high. Like sometimes I need to like take the edge off and just feel a little calm. I don't even want to feel high at all and like relax, kind of similar to like having a beer or a glass of wine. And
Hmm.
to take a 10 milligram gummy and like cut it into 4 and like guess how I'm going to feel because like you're not actually going to get what you want necessarily. So we reverse engineered it and we're like, let's let people like, a lot of people may not feel crazy from one. Like I feel relaxed, I don't feel high. But if I eat like 3 or 4, I feel a little buzzed. And so everyone's different. Everyone can kind of play with these differently, see how it works for them. And then also like, sometimes I love having a glass of wine and 2 gummies and like I feel awesome. And then I go to sleep and I'm not hungover. I'm like ready to wake up at 5 a.m. with my kid. So yeah, so that's really why we created it. And it's really resonated, I think. I mean, guys love it, but women particularly love it because there aren't many brands that are like, like we obviously have Whitney Port and like a lot of that promote the brand that are like that found us because they love the product and they use the product.
Hmm.
And so it's really resonated with women because it gives them control and it's not scary. And you're putting something in your body that like the worst thing about it is it has a little bit of sugar in it.
Yeah. Something that always gets me, in all these different conversations I have with people, because I'll be having uh, conversations with people that aren't in the industry or are just like regular consumers. It really frustrates me so much, but some people will be like, oh, it has 1 milligram or it has 2 milligrams or five, whatever, and it's X amount of dollars for 1 milligram. or five. Who's buying that? Who's up for a toddler? And people get really angry about it. And have you had any of that directed in your?
Yeah, I mean, we like this was like my constant battle in the beginning. People were like, no one's gonna want this. Like everyone wants, bang for your buck in terms of milligrams. And I'm like, that's not true. Like I think it's very short-sighted. I think it's
Yep.
like saying that everyone wants like 151 proof like alcohol. Like you don't like some people
Exactly.
only drink beer, and I think that it's just like I mean, the cannabis industry was usually focused on people that consumed cannabis already. And so for a long time, that was people like the stoner stereotype where they wanted to get super stoned and super high.
Yep.
And it was all about that. And now I think it's kind of transferring more into like the health and wellness and lifestyle space, which is a little bit different as the industry matures. And so you're getting a whole new slew of consumers that may have never tried this before or like aren't taking it to get high, like are taking it for relaxation or taking it for sleep or taking
Yep.
it for like a substitute to alcohol. And they don't want to be like baked and stuck on their couch, like unable to speak. So I
Hmm.
think that like just like in alcohol, there's vodka and tequila, and there's beer and wine, and there's light beer, and there's people who want different types of things. And I just think that the people in the industry specifically were focused on that consumer, and that was a safe bet, right? Like they put it in their store, they know people are going to come and buy it. But like the new consumer is people that are not consuming cannabis. And it's like, how do we show them that like it's not just about getting high? And that's
Hmm.
through those approachable products. So I think that look, there's a place for those stronger products for sure. But I think there's also a place for products like ours. And like we've proven that. I mean, we've been around now 5 years almost
Hmm.
growing. And like our consumer set, like I said, is like very, very heavily female, which is super interesting because I think women like to feel like I don't want to put something weird in my body that I'm going to feel out of control.
Yep.
And yeah, so I don't know. I love talking to people like that because I'm like, do you drink beer? Do you always want a tequila shot? Like, no. Like,
Yeah.
so it's, it's fair, but I
Yeah.
don't,
It's just,
yeah.
it's more so it's less that they feel that way about themselves personally. It's the visceral like hate that comes with them. It's like if you don't want 1 milligram, don't buy it. It's not
Yeah.
that
I
hard.
mean, also like the pricing is like, it's with anything. Like, why do people buy organic strawberries versus regular strawberries? Because like they don't want it sprayed with all this shit. Like, so I think it's like, yeah, not every consumer is going to want to spend, $15 on a bag of like 10 milligram gummies, but like there's a lot of people that will because the control that it offers, the
Yep.
fact that it's vegan, the fact that it's gluten free, the fact that we don't use any preservatives and like all like blue dye for all that stuff, like people value that and they'll pay for it. So it's not for everyone. That's okay. It don't need to be for
Yeah.
everyone.
And you went and raised some money for the High Confectionary, right?
Yeah, I have some partners. So we raised the
Yeah.
money for the first round. And then it took us, like I said, like a year to develop the product. We were in like more of the cannabis side in California. And then we went to D2C and it's really changed the business. It's been an interesting ride.
Yeah. So a couple questions there. One, are you guys still in like legal regulated dispensaries
No,
or 100% in hemp?
we were. And I mean, it's really hard to make money in that. And like,
Yeah,
it's just
especially low dose.
yeah, and I think like the other part of it is it's not even like the low dose part. It's just you're not in direct contact with your end consumer. So like when you're
Mm,
heavily reliant on dispensaries, it's like you're just selling to the dispensary and then the dispensary is communicating with the consumer. And I don't like that as much as being like the one hitting directly to the consumer because we can be sure that like our product and our messaging and like what we stand for is actually getting out there into the universe versus having to rely on like dispensary chains. We are in some like hemp dispensaries, which is we have like
mhm.
great partners for that. We share a vision with them and like we wholesale to them. So we do like a fair amount of wholesale business, but we're not on the like state regulated cannabis side anymore. We're only on the hemp space. And you can see a lot of companies that were traditionally in the cannabis space
Mhm.
pivot to that. I mean, Kiva is a great example. Camino gummies, people like those. They are doing hemp now because it's just so hard to make money. Can is another example. Like they're
Mhm.
your store, right? Like you can't do that for a cannabis product, even though cannabis and hemp
Right.
are the same thing, basically, just legally different, which is another whole thing that people don't understand. But yeah, so we're 100% in the hemp space.
Gotcha. And so when you went out and raised money, and we touched on the stigma around 1 milligram versus the higher doses and stuff like that, what was it like raising money for that idea and in a category that has predominantly been THC per dollar or whatever?
I mean, first of all, I think that we had some cannabis investors, which like I think saw like the larger addressable market opportunity of like, okay, like only, X% of people consume cannabis. Actually, more people don't. So how do we
Right.
get into this? So that was part of it. And I think people who get that. And then the other part is like we actually raised a lot of money from non-cannabis like industry people. So people that consumed products but didn't work in the industry who were like, I wish this existed. So it was actually like it wasn't raising money sucks. It's like a full-time job and like you get like a million no's for like every yes. But um and like I mean whatever, but it's a lot of fun. I think that you get people that really believe in the brand and like it was like everyone has a story. Everyone we talked to was like, yeah, one time I got too high, and then they would tell some story about like some weird experience they had, where like they were really
Hmm.
nervous, really anxious, or something like happened to them that they didn't intend, and they're like, I got scared of taking this again because of that. And like, I think a lot of people can relate to that and like have a story like that. And then, our pitch was kind of like, it doesn't have to be like this. Like, it actually should be the opposite. Like, yeah, if you want to have one of those times, like, go for it. But like, you should be you should be controlling the product. The product shouldn't be controlling you. And I think just like people resonated with that. And so that was kind of how we were able to raise money. And then we didn't even have a product at that point. So we were like raising money off of this kind of idea.
Yeah. And you mentioned her earlier, but you brought Whitney Port into the company as creative director.
Yeah.
And for the audience that may not know who Whitney is, who is Whitney, and how did that partnership come together?
Yeah, so Whitney, I mean, this is like a throwback, but she was on The Hills and then The City. She was one of like the first reality stars and now has a huge presence on social media, has a YouTube channel, like a big following on Instagram. She's amazing. So she's by title a creative director, but she actually does a lot more than that.
Hmm.
She's like me, like we actually went to the same high school, but we didn't know each other. We're a couple years apart, so like we didn't like really overlap at all in that, but we have like a similar, I guess, like crossover of childhood, because we grew up in the
Hmm.
same area and went to the same school. And my sister actually knew her sister, and we are both like big cannabis enthusiasts. So like, we're kind of the antithesis of like what people think of when it was that like stoner stereotype, right? Like we're girls, we're like have jobs, we're high functioning, like, but we use it for like stress and for sleep and all this stuff. And she's really passionate about it. And so our sisters connected us and we had a few phone calls and I was like, here's what I'm doing. And it's just was one of those things where like we feel like we've known each other forever and we both really believe that like we want to bring this to more women. We want to bring it to more people that are scared. We want to show people like it's not scary. Like you can use it to help you with things that you may take like conventional pharmaceuticals for. And like it's so we share this kind of like mission on bringing it mainstream. And
Hmm.
so she's basically one of our like partners. And I've worked on like really exciting things with Whitney. So she rebranded all of our sleep, which is like gorgeous, beautiful. Obviously, you've seen it. It's a little bit
Hmm.
aesthetically different than the rest of our brand. We're actually in a brand refresh. So you're going to see like a lot of new kind of imagery and packaging coming out in the next few months. She helps with product development. So we're coming out with an exclusive sleep SKU that takes, our sleep has a very, very, very low amounts of melatonin, only 1 milligram, like in the theme of
Hmm.
high confectionery, which I love, but some people are like very anti-melatonin. So we have a new one coming out without melatonin and then some other like more herbal things in place of that Whitney is creating. We did a pop-up in New York City. That was awesome. It was on in like the fall/winter, which she was a huge part of. And yeah, it's an amazing partnership. She's part of it. Like, it's not even a partnership. Like she's part of the company. So it's great. Like she's helped us really get it out there to like the larger audience we want to reach. And it's like a pleasure to work with her. She has such an amazing design eye. And so she's really helping like elevate the brand to where we want it to be. So yeah, stay tuned for some fun things coming out soon.
Awesome. Kind of leads into the final question here, which was what's next for the confectionery. I did see on Instagram that you guys might be developing some beverages,
Yeah,
possibly.
I'll send you some. I have some here. So we actually came out, we didn't do much publicity around this because it was like for like a certain partnership with our wholesale partners, CBD Kratom, but we have an existing drink in a few select stores in New York. We kind
Hmm.
of like tested it out before we did like a huge launch, but that being said, it did well. So now we're actually going to create like a line of beverages. Think of like a Splendrift. So it's nothing like
Hmm.
overly sweet and flavored, more like a slightly flavored seltzer that you could drink it like on its own, or you could mix into other like juices or whatever you want. And yeah, we're coming out with a line of beverages. So the one we have now is a strawberry lemonade. It's like we took our flavors from our gummies that we love and we're like, what will translate great into a beverage? So we did one of the anytime ones and then we're working on a chill out one now. So like a little bit of a different use case. Like maybe you're taking it more to relax in place of a glass of wine. But that should be coming out in the next couple of months. And they're a little higher dose actually because while like you pop a lot of gummies, I feel like with a drink you may only have one, or you may have
Hmm.
like, and so or you may be mixing it with other stuff. So we're playing a little bit around with like, maybe they're 2.5 milligrams because you sip it. It's just a longer like
Right.
consumption experience than like you pop one gummy. So, and then we're working on sucking candies, which we haven't teased
Ooh.
out yet. But if you remember, like sour Altoids, like as a kid, I
Hmm.
used to eat a lot of those. We're doing a version of that. They're going to be our sour suckers. So same thing. Like we're working, I think, on a multi-pack. We have multiple flavors. But if you don't want to have a gummy all the time, like you'll have other form factors which you can have the same experience with. But you can eat them or drink them, and kind of just expanding that product line.
Well, that all sounds very exciting. I love it. For any of the listeners that want to support you guys, how best can they support the High Confectionery?
Yeah, so you can order us online at highconfectionery.com. We ship directly to your door, so it's very easy. Like you don't have to go anywhere. And there's discount codes and all of that when you sign up for emails with your first purchase. And we're gonna have a big 4th of July sale. We always do like little like sales and things if you want to like try it during that. And then the other thing is like we recently started to offer a single packet. So we usually sell it in a bottle of 50 or a box that has like 5 of the like snack packs in it. But if you like don't want to commit because you've never tried it before, you can actually order a single bag now, which is great. And it's also great if you like love peach but you want to try watermelon. Like you can add one bag to your order and test it out, and then if you like it, you can order more. So I'll get you the code for the July 4th sale. Check us out online.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today, Jenna. Until next time, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you.